We're back with our Ask Me Anything segment with Tiffany and Gerald. We're here to do all your work-related questions.
So send them to us. We love hearing from you. Send them over to cnapodcasts at mediacorp.com.sg or drop us a comment on Spotify or YouTube.
Gerald, last week we were talking about giving feedback to a colleague or a staff who is a bit more sensitive. Someone told me that she found your tips very helpful, and so she's going to try it. I'll let you know how it goes. This same person then said, how do I disagree with my boss without affecting the work relationship? Now, we all want to have a good relationship with our boss. Why don't we? But we don't necessarily always agree with their decisions or comments that they make about our work. So how do we approach this while still staying true to ourselves?
You have to be very brave to want to confront your boss on stuff like this, right? I
Yeah.
think most of the time people prefer not to confront, or they don't want to disagree because they don't want to be in their boss's bad books. They don't want to ruin their career. I've also heard of bosses saying, don't say anything that makes me look bad. Yeah, So there is also power differentiation at play between you and your boss. And this really makes it very hard and awkward for you to disagree with your boss on work matters. I think that's the reason why the default for many people is just to keep quiet. And they hope that someone else talks about it, or they hope that the boss will realize it on their own.
Yeah.
But I guess there are
Lie
some...
low, live longer.
Yeah, but I guess sometimes there are just things that you have to tell your boss. From a workplace relationship management perspective, maybe here are some thoughts, right? The first thing is to really choose your battles wisely,
Okay.
right? Because it's quite high stakes.
Yeah.
So I think you need to know what to raise and also when to raise the disagreement. Consider whether it's really important to raise the feedback, and also when is the best timing. Example, if you do it in front of somebody else or in front of a meeting, it's very likely going to embarrass your boss, right? So I remember once a boss told me before that at a meeting, my boss said something that was different from what we discussed. So for me, I made sure that after the meeting, when everybody has gone back, to check in with my boss to try to understand like what made my boss change the discussion outcome,
Okay.
rather than insisting at the meeting itself that my boss deviated from what we had agreed on. I think this is trying to save your boss's face lah. I think about choosing what to raise. You have to consider whether is it a really serious issue.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes there are things that maybe that are really petty and you can just let go of, and you don't have to tell the boss that. But if it's maybe impacting on work, or maybe impacts on your working timelines, or your company's business, then I think these are some of the things that you may want to bring up to your boss. If it's something that's personal, then maybe you might want to also bring that up to your boss, even more so in a very private manner rather than in front of other people.
You talk about timing. I think if somebody like you react very fast straight after the meeting, you would want to talk about it. But say, for example, I'm also still thinking about, is this big enough of an issue to raise up to my boss? And then, the moment has passed. How then should I choose that right timing? Should I send a calendar invite? Should I say, can I take you out for coffee? What is the right approach then?
Yeah, I would say just go with the most direct approach.
Okay.
Right? Just knock on your boss's door and say, hey, do you have some time? I just need like 10 minutes. You don't want to spend half an hour just to discuss something like that unless it's really, really important. But I guess most of the time, if you just want to deliver a feedback to your boss, it can be pretty quick. They don't have a lot of time for you anyway. So just knock on your door and just tell them that, hey, I want to discuss with you something that happened last week. Do you have like 5-10 minutes for me?
And what should we say during this conversation when it happens?
I think we have to speak for ourselves. Very often I see people, when they are trying to convince their boss of the feedback they give, they will bring in other people.
But it's safety in numbers.
Yeah, safety in numbers. That's what we all think, right? But we have to think from the boss's perspective. It makes them even more defensive.
Oh, because it looks like everyone is ganging up against the boss.
Oh, yeah, correct. And it looks like the problem has become bigger.
Okay.
So perhaps maybe pointing it out as me, and you are speaking for yourself, you're not speaking for other people. This could allow your boss to just take it as a conversation with you.
Okay.
Right. And then of course in the conversation be respectful and objective. So we want to just tell them that this is an opportunity for us to collaborate and for us to get the work done properly. So it's not personal. It's really meant for the betterment of the whole company, right? Along the way, as you give the feedback, I think it's important to also give a solution. I remember one boss ever told me before, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions.
I think
right?
most bosses appreciate solutions.
That's right. So even as you're planning what to say, maybe you want to also prepare maybe a solution and some options for your boss, so that your boss has something to work on
Okay.
immediately, right? So for example, if today your boss unrealistically overpromises on a project delivery,
Okay.
right? So you could say something like, what do you think if I wrote to the client to clarify on the deadline? I can also check internally to see whether can we make it. But if we cannot make it, then I will communicate that to the client. What do you think about that? So you're helping your boss to somehow have a step down, allowing the boss to not lose face in a way, so that you are coming in to do your job and to kind of cover for your boss in a way. Yeah. And of course, last but not least, I think it's important to also give your boss the space to have the final say. I think sometimes when our bosses, being in the position that they are, they may see things differently from us. So even though we give them the feedback about the work, maybe we want them to have the final say about how they want to proceed from there.
Okay.
Even if it's irrational to you, I think it's in their prerogative and their responsibility to make that decision. So we can deliver the feedback, but we shouldn't expect a change lah.
I guess it sounds like you have a good relationship with your boss. What if you don't have a good relationship with your boss? What if your boss prefers not to have this conversation with you, or the starting point is already quite adversarial?
Yeah, I think in that situation, you may want to avoid it.
Okay.
Because there's already pre-existing
baggage, right?
negativity. So perhaps you might want to wait for a neutral platform, maybe to deliver the feedback via 360 feedback, or maybe you can find someone neutral to do it for you, HR, if it's important enough, right? Of course, if you really feel that this matter cannot not be said, it has to be said, then maybe you want to start to approach your boss to ask, can I offer you some thoughts or some feedback about this particular matter? I think allowing them to say yes to you also gives them the choice to receive something. Yeah.
Well, I know that sometimes it seems easier said than done, but I think what Gerald is saying here is there are several options that you can try. If it doesn't work, try another method. Let us know if you have tried some of his tips. Write to us at cnapodcasts@mediacorp.com.sg. And also tell us if you have a work-related question. We'd love to hear from you. We're streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even YouTube. You can find us there. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Gerald, wishing you a great work week ahead.